How's it going, troops? Jordan here, back again with another Black Ops Cold War loadout video. In today's loadout, we're shipping ourselves over to the South Atlantic as we join the British Army and Royal Navy to take the Falkland Islands back in the hands of Queen and country. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and let's jump right in. With this Falklands War loadout, we're going to be playing as a British trooper fighting off the Argentinians in the Falkland Islands. We're going to be pushing forward with our men around the archipelago to take back control of the areas the Argentines captured, so our playstyle for this loadout is going to be aggressive. And as we're using some of the best weaponry from the British Armed Forces at the time, without being competitive in game, I've labelled today's loadout difficulty as moderate. Starting off with our primary weapon, we're going to choose the M16. The British Armed Forces in the 1980s used a variety of NATO weapons, including their own range of firearms, such as the Enfield L1A1 SLR, the L4 Bren and the M16A1. We currently don't have a FAL or L1A1 in Cold War, but it's speculated that the FAL could be coming in Season 6. Until then though, we'll have to make do with what weapons are available, so for our primary weapon, I've gone with the M16. But of course we're not going to go in bare bones with the M16, so let's talk attachments. For our first attachment, we're going to choose the SUSAT Multi-Zoom. The SUSAT scope is of British origin, and for a weapon built around long-range engagements, this multi-zoom telescopic sight will let us adjust our view on the enemy before we take them out. Our second attachment is going to be the 16.3-inch rapid-fire barrel. This attachment makes the barrel look reminiscent of the original M16A1 handguards, and with the addition of a faster fire rate, the enemy team won't know what hit them. For our third attachment, we're going to go with the Airborne Elastic Wrap. The airborne part of the name can be referenced to those parachute regiments that fought on the islands, and this grip sleeve comes with a few bonuses, like better flinch resistance from incoming fire, a faster aim down sight time, and the ability to remain looking through our scope while we drop down to prone and put the Argentinians at a disadvantage. And for our fourth and final attachment, we're going to equip the Tactical Stock. Apart from strapping a cheek pad around the M16 stock, the Tactical Stock increases our in-walking movement speed by a great 65%. And this will help us to move quicker as we change our cover and continue firing at the bad guys. Now, in the event that the FAL does make an appearance in Season 6, here's an alternate primary setup that you can also go with. For our attachment choices, we're going to choose the SOCOM Eliminator, the Speed Tape and the Tactical Stock. The SOCOM Eliminator will conceal us mostly from appearing on enemy radar and pushes gases out to reduce vertical climb by 17%. As with the Speed Tape, this quickens our ADS speed by 7%. And for the Tactical Stock, just like with our M16, this improved stock increases our in-walking movement speed significantly. So now that we've discussed our primary weapon configuration, it's time to move on to our secondary weapon of choice for this loadout. For our secondary weapon, we're going to choose the 1911. The Browning High Power was the typical pistol of choice for the British Armed Forces, and was wielded throughout the 10 weeks that the war lasted. We don't have the Browning in Cold War multiplayer, so we'll just go with the nearest looking pistol, that being the 1911. We're only going to equip one attachment for our 1911, and that's going to be the Drop Shot Wrap. As the name suggests, this rear grip wrapping lets us drop shot our enemies whenever we need to, and we can reference this to the British soldiers dropping to prone among the hills, either to better camouflage themselves or to make it difficult for the Argentines to shoot at them. So now that we've discussed both our primary and secondary weapon configurations, it's time to move on to our wildcard and perk setup. In order to let us pick and choose specific perks for this class setup, we're going to choose the Lawbreaker wildcard, and starting with our first perk, we're choosing Flak Jacket from Tier 1. British soldiers wore flak jackets to protect themselves from bomb blasts and shrapnel wounds, and going up against the Argentine force, explosive attacks would have been inevitable, especially from the skies. So to reference this, we'll select Flak Jacket to protect us better against hostile grenades and splash damage from bombs being dropped on us. And for our final two perks, we're going to go with both Ghost and Cold Blooded from Tier 3. Once the British soldiers got off their naval ships onto land, they had to remain hidden, as they made their tiring long journey towards the Argentinian bases across the rough terrain. We can choose Ghost to replicate this, as it allows us to remain hidden off enemy spy planes while on the move. And for our final perk, Cold Blooded, British troops wore woodland style camouflage uniforms as well as woodland face paint, so they could blend into their surroundings and increase their avoidance of being spotted by the enemy. So we'll go with Cold Blooded for our third perk to stay ice cold off of hostile thermal optics. Moving on now to our equipment and field upgrade, and for our lethal equipment, we're going to choose a Frag Grenade. The British Army used their own L2A2 designation of the American M16 frag, while clearing out outposts and Argentinian soldiers hiding behind the rocky terrain, so we'll go with the frag in our lethal slot. As for our tactical equipment, we're going to go with a smoke grenade. There's nothing really from the list of tacticals that can relate to the Falklands War, but the British did carry smoke grenades with them, which provided them with temporary cover and blinded the enemy's line of sight, so we'll go with the smoke for our tactical. And lastly, for our field upgrade, we're choosing the assault pack. Again, there's not really anything here that sticks out to being used in the Falklands, but we can make use of the assault pack and reference the men from the 2nd and 3rd Battalion Parachute Regiment and the 40 and 45 Commando Royal Marines, sharing mags and restocking frags whenever they got low. So now that we've talked about our equipment and field upgrade, it's time to finish off this loadout with our score streak selection. For our first score streak, we're going to choose the air patrol. Because of the location of the Falklands, air warfare played a massive part in controlling the territory. The British sent out 2 aircraft carriers, which carried 42 aircraft under the RAF, while the Argentinians had a whopping 122 aircraft. We can make reference of this by selecting the air patrol score streak, which takes out all enemy air vehicles sighted above the map. For our second score streak, we're going to go with the cruise missile. Continuing this aircraft theme, many aircraft from both sides of the war flew over ships and carriers and dropped missiles on them, killing hundreds of people on board and sinking the ships. We can choose the cruise missile to reference this, as it drops out the latch from underneath the jet and cruises down onto its designated targets. And for our third and final score streak, we're going to choose the strafe run. Similarly to the cruise missile choice, there were a few strafe runs conducted by the British in the Port Stanley area, including the airport runways, which prevented the Argentines from stationing their air force directly on the islands. In game, we had the strafe run score streak, which, as it says in the name, strafes across the map multiple times while dropping bombs to kill the enemy, so we'll go with this for our third and final score streak. So troops, that wraps up my Falklands War loadout for Black Ops Cold War. Next time you boot up Cold War multiplayer, definitely give this class setup a try in game, and I'll gently smile with victory. If you did enjoy this loadout video, then give the video a thumbs up, I would appreciate it a lot, and make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification button as well for more loadouts like this one. If you have any friends who might be interested in this sort of content, then share the video around with them to help give my loadout videos and my channel more widespread exposure. And if you want to see behind the scenes previews of my loadout videos, you can follow me on Twitter at jordanxbrookes for all the latest on there. So until the next video, I thank you all for watching, stay true to me troops, and I'll see you in game.
Nothing personal.